It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Philadelphia Phillies. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Wednesday evening to you, wherever you may be. Here at Dodger Stadium, Game 3 of the 4-game series with Philadelphia, with Clayton Kershaw on the mound for the Dodgers. He has a record of 5-6, an ERA of 3. He is 2-4 lifetime against Philadelphia, but if you go back to 2011 up to now, he is 2-0. His earned run average against the Phils, 1.2, and he will take the mound tonight with a string of 18 consecutive scoreless innings. On the mound for the Philadelphia Phillies, a third-round pick. What a surprise. He was 0-6 at AAA when they called him up. His name is Adam Morgan, 25-year-old left-hander, made his debut and won against the St. Louis Cardinals, then went up against his hometown team, the Atlanta Braves, and pitched a gem. Well, it was a gem until the 7th inning. He had allowed just one run, home run to Johnny Gomes, and in the 7th inning, of all people, old pal Juan Uribe hit a home run to beat Morgan and Philadelphia 2-1. For the Dodgers, they take the field tonight with an opportunity of increasing their lead to 5 games over the Giants. San Francisco lost this afternoon to the New York Mets 4-1. So pull up a chair. Looks like a good ball game coming up, and a whole lot more right after this. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by Disneyland. Get ready to be dazzled during the Disneyland Resort Diamond Celebration happening now with spectacular new entertainment and more. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Wednesday evening to you, wherever you may be. The Dodgers and the Phillies, Game 3 of the 4-game series here at Dodger Stadium, and it's another lovely summer's evening. For Clayton Kershaw, a bunch of numbers for him. In his last 8 starts, he has a record of 3 wins and 3 losses. But when you look at his earned run average over that stretch, it's 1.7, so you can barely pitch much better than that. For the Philadelphia Phillies, trying to get an edge in the first 3 games, having won last night, Pete Maccannon's ball club, basically a left-hand hitting club, but not necessarily against Clayton Kershaw. You have the switch hitter, Cesar Hernandez. Then you have Odubel Herrera in center, Maikel Franco at third, Darren Ruff at first, Jeff Francoeur in left, Carlos Ruiz behind the plate, Freddie Galvis at short, Dominic Brown in right field, and the left-hand pitcher Adam Morgan on the mound. Clayton Kershaw ready to go to work. He has 147 strikeouts. He's averaging a little more than 11.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. So we'll see how he goes as he tries to balance his books. 5 wins and 6 losses. Cesar Hernandez fouls the pitch away, and the count 0-1. Hernandez, an outstanding young second baseman, has a 12-game hitting streak. He's batting .301, 1 home run, 19 runs batted in, and he is definitely the future for the Phillies. The strike 1 pitch, big swing and a miss, and the count 0-2. The temperature tonight, an ideal 72 degrees. Meanwhile, Chase Utley leaning on the railing, watching the game, and the next pitch off speed for strike 3, and down goes Hernandez. Of course, the big question for Philadelphia, what happens when Utley's ankle is all right? Where does he play, if he plays, or do they stay with Hernandez? So Chase deep in thought, along with Ryan Howard, 2 great names from the past. Utley figures he might come back after the All-Star break. So we have 1 away. Here's Odubel Herrera. A big swing and a miss, left-hand hitter. Checks in at the plate. Played in the first game, hitting .266. He has 4 home runs, 23 runs batted in. Kershaw has the hitters, just as Odubel Herrera did, swing at the first pitch. He takes the next one, the count 0-2. The opponents swing at 40% of Clayton's first pitches. That's the highest percentage of any pitcher in baseball. Strike 2 pitch on the way. Breaking ball slapped into center field for a base hit. So an 0-2 curveball, and Herrera singles to center. We can take a look at the Dodgers with the leather, and they shape up this way with Gonzalez and Hendrick, Rollins and Turner, Van Slyke, Peterson and Puig, and A.J. Ellis handling his buddy Clayton Kershaw. So for Kershaw, I'm sure he feels he's made a bad mistake. No balls, 2 strikes, and a curveball hit to center. Now Maikel Franco checking in. Kershaw out of his stretch, looks over at Herrera, and the left-hander works a fastball in for a strike, and the count 0-1. For Herrera, he has stolen 9 out of 13. And the Phillies are a running ball club. They have 56 stolen bases, and they'll run on just about any count. Kershaw, another look. Clayton ready, and the strike 1 pitch is a fastball whacked to center. Peterson is at the other end of it. So that was hit hard. So 2 down. Herrera at first, and now the cleanup hitter. That would be Ruff coming up. Darren Ruff, the first baseman, checked in last night. Ruff had 1 base hit plus a walk, so he wound up going 1 for 4, hitting .228, but doing a lot better on the road than he is back in Philadelphia, hitting .270 on the road. Kershaw flip over to first. You would guess that Herrera, if he gets the slightest opening, will try to go. Kershaw has done a complete about face. His first 9 starts, his earned run average was over 4, and the opposition hitting .250. The first pitch to Ruff is low and inside, ball 1. His last 8 starts, his earned run average is 1.7, and the opposition is hitting .177. Zach Greinke tomorrow night. The 1-0 pitch on the way. Herrera takes his lead. Now the pitch at the plate in the dirt, gets away from Ellis, but the runner Herrera holding at first base. So 2 balls and no strikes the count. First inning, no score. Hernandez struck out Herrera 0-2 and hit a curveball for a base hit. Franco lined out to Peterson, and here is Ruff, the big first baseman, right-hand batter. Kershaw looks down to Ellis to get a sign. Another look over at first. Clayton staring now to the plate. Pulled on the ground back a third. Up with it is Turner. The throw low, and a nice pick at the other end of it by Adrian Gonzalez. So no runs, 1 hit on an 0-2 count. That's only the 5th hit this year that he's given up 0-2. And now it's time for Adam Morgan to go to work. No score. Don Mattingly's lineup as the Dodgers try to pick up on the Giants. San Francisco lost this afternoon 4-1 to the New York Mets. Dodger lineup: Yasiel Puig is back up leading off in right field. Howie Kendrick, then Justin Turner and Adrian Gonzalez. Scott Van Slyke will be in left field against a left-hander. Jock Peterson in center. Jimmy Rollins, A.J. Ellis, and Clayton Kershaw. On the mound, a 25-year-old left-hander out of Marietta, Georgia, Adam Morgan. Went to school at the University of Alabama. His father pitched for the University of Alabama and wound up winning the SEC championship in 1983. Puig takes high, ball 1, and his father and his ball club with Alabama bowed to Texas in the 1983 College World Series. So Adam Morgan, 1 win and 1 loss. The 1-0 pitch, fastball fouled away, and the count 1-1. Yasiel Puig up and down as far as good game, no game, whatever, hitting .282, 3 for 9 in the first 2 games. Morgan off the rubber. Adam won his debut against the St. Louis Cardinals and lost a great effort to Atlanta. He lost 2-1. 1-1 pitch, swung on and missed. Off speed, Puig way out in front of it. Morgan lost to Atlanta, gave up a home run to Johnny Gomes early in the game. Then it was tied, and in the 7th inning, Juan Uribe of the Braves hit a home run to beat him 2-1. The 1-2 pitch is swung on, fly ball into shallow right center. Dominic Brown on the run to make the catch. So Puig, fly ball, one away. Howie Kendrick coming up. And we can set the Philadelphia Phillies defensively with Ruff and Hernandez, Galvis and Franco on the infield, Francoeur, Herrera, and Brown in the outfield. Carlos Cruz, an old friend of the Dodgers with quotes around the word friend, behind the plate, handling Adam Morgan. Howie Kendrick, who had a big first game in the series, going 4 for 4. Howie checks in, hitting .297, 7 home runs, takes the first pitch high, ball 1. Kendrick in last night's game was hit by a pitch and wound up going 0 for 3. Put it all together, 4 for 8 in the series. 1 ball and no strikes to Howie. Justin Turner on deck. Fastball up and in for ball 2. 2-0 the count. For Adam Morgan, he had some physical problems, and that slowed down his development. In fact, when he was called up from the minors this year, he was 0-6 pitching for Lehigh Valley. He's behind 3-0. He suffered a left shoulder injury of May of 2013, tried to rest and rehab, finally had surgery in January of 2014. The left-hander's 3-0 pitch finds the mark, and the count 3-1. So Howie Kendrick with the count his way, 3-1. He knows the book on Morgan. Fastball, slider, curve, and a good change. Adam Reddy turns on the rubber, and the 3-1 pitch is a fastball away, and the count runs to ball 4, and Kendrick on his way to first. Dodgers have not done well against left-hand starters. They are 7-9 against left-handers. Of course, Philadelphia is 6-10 against left-hand starters. So Kershaw, who made only 11 pitches in the first inning, but I'm sure, knowing his battle for excellence, annoyed at himself for getting beaten on a no-ball, 2-strike count curveball for a base hit by the number 2 hitter in the lineup, Odubel Herrera. So here's Justin Turner batting .314 and takes the strike, and the count 0-1. Turner, a quick look down to Lorenzo Bundy before getting back in. No balls and 1 strike the count. Left-hander come back with a pitch, swung on, and that's going to go down the line, foul, out of play. 0-2 the count to Justin Turner. Been talking about Adam Morgan and his shoulder that eventually needed surgery. A lot of people thought he injured himself throwing across his body. So he has worked hard a mechanical change in his footwork to avoid that. No balls and 2 strikes to Justin Turner. Left-hander set, looks over at Kendrick, now to the plate, inside, and he hits Turner on a no-ball, 2-strike count. So both left-handers annoyed at themselves. Kershaw for giving up the base hit, and now Morgan hitting the batter 0-2. That would be the, let's check. Looking for a hit batter for Turner. He's been hit a bunch of times. If this is correct, he's been hit 8 times. Wow. So first and second, 1 out, bottom of the first inning, no score. And here's Adrian Gonzalez. Adam Morgan, left-hander, delivers and misses away, ball 1. 1-0 the count. Adrian batting .291, 16 home runs, 51 runs batted in, 2 for 7 with a home run in this series. Morgan double checking. Carlos Ruiz, Chooch as they call him in Philadelphia. Chooch in the crouch. And the 1-0 pitch on the way, off the plate again, ball 2. In looking at Morgan's numbers to see if you get any indication of how he's been pitching, he's walked 4, and struck out 11. But he's also given up 3 home runs. 2 of them beat him, Johnny Gomes and Juan Uribe in Atlanta. Now the 2-0 pitch on the way. Morgan delivers again. Slider down and away. He's digging a hole here. He walked Kendrick. He hits Turner 0-2. He's a pitch away from loading him up. And Van Slyke waits on deck. For Pete McKernan, the interim manager of the Phillies, stepping in when Ryne Sandberg hung it up. 3-0 pitch. A look at the runners. The young left-hander delivers down the pipe for a strike, and the count 3-1. Giants lost to the New York Mets. Jacob deGrom, the rookie of the year last year, beat the Giants 4-1. The Giants are break even at home, 22-22, which of course is not the way to do it. 3-1 the count as the runners take a lead with 1 out. Here comes Morgan's fastball. That's fouled away. He's right around 89 and 90. He is not what you would call a hard-throwing left-hander. Against the Cardinals, he retired the side in the first inning, allowed 3 hits but no runs in the second inning, left a runner on third in the 5th inning, and finally they took him out with 2 outs in the 6th. The next pitch, breaking ball hit up the middle. Galvis behind the bag, and instead of trying to throw to first, he's going to make kind of a flip to his second baseman, and there's no play. So Freddie Galvis, along with Hernandez, I think both of them like to put on a little bit of a show. Where Galvis was, he should have taken the out at first base. He goes behind the bag, nice pick. And then kind of a showboat shuffle over the head of Hernandez. So a big break. And now instead of 2 out and runners at second and third, you have the bases loaded for Scott Van Slyke. We'll have to wait. They put up error, so I assume E6. Threw it over the head of Hernandez. Slow curveball in for a strike. No balls and 1 strike to Scotty. Hitting .245. Has done very well year in and year out. He has Kendrick, Turner, and Gonzalez now at first. Strike 1 pitch on the way, and that stays up 1-1. So the Phillies have a very young double play combination. We've only seen them play a couple of games. They're a little bit on the showy side. Freddie Galvis and Cesar Hernandez, but they're good young players. The 1-1 pitch on the way. Adams' fastball is fouled back, and the count 1-2. So in the inning, Puig flied to right. Kendrick walked. Turner on a no-ball 2-strike count is hit by the pitch. Gonzalez hits a ground ball up the middle. Galvis makes the play he should not have tried to make, and the bases are loaded. Galvis drawing an error. Now the 1-2 pitch to Scott Van Slyke is taken low, and a 2-ball 2-strike count. On deck, hitting behind Van Slyke, Jock Peterson. Van Slyke looking for his first career grand slam. 2-2 to Scott. Morgan out of a stretch. Left-handed delivers, and it's fouled off. Looked like a hard slider again. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count. Adam Morgan started pitching professionally in 2011, but then he missed all of 2014, having had the shoulder surgery, not the Tommy John. All right, the 2-2 pitch again to Van Slyke. Morgan delivers. Fastball inside under the hands. 3-2. 1 out. First inning, no score. So Kershaw hoping to get a run or two, a cushion to lean on in the second inning. 3-2 pitch to Scott Van Slyke. It is swung on and missed, and down he goes. Off-speed breaking ball, and Scotty strikes out. So by rights, this inning should be over. But that flashy play by Freddie Galvis means the Dodgers still have another shot. So with 2 down, Jock Peterson coming up. And Peterson would be the first to tell you the month of July has been one miserable week. Jock during July has 1 hit in his last 20 at-bats. So his batting average has gone to .230. He has the 20 home runs, 39 RBIs. He's also a participant in the home run derby in Cincinnati prior to the All-Star game. They asked Don Mattingly, don't you risk messing up your swing in the home run derby? And Mattingly said, no, I don't think so. Peterson has 1 grand slam. Morgan ready, and the first pitch is low, ball 1. Peterson hit his slam against Arizona. Jimmy Rollins on deck. So a walk, a hit batter, a poor play by Freddie Galvis. Then Van Slyke strikes out, and Morgan trying to get his way out of the inning, ready to make his 27th pitch. Left-hander's fastball in for a strike. He has gotten that one up to 91. So he changes speeds. We haven't seen any slow curves. Sliders and fastballs up to here. 1-1 the count. Morgan straightens up. Another look at the runners. And the 1-1 pitch to Jock Peterson swung on and missed. 1-2 the count. And again, Morgan got it up to 91. So Howie Kendrick, who walked, is at third. Justin Turner, hit by a pitch, is at second. Gonzalez is at first. The Dodgers got the break on the play by Galvis. And with 2 out, here's Peterson and a 1-2 count. Morgan straightens up. Young left-hander, 25 years old. Comes back to Peterson and works it off the plate. And the count 2-2. No score. Bottom of the first inning. Waiting on deck, Jimmy Rollins. For Adam Morgan, he is now ready to make his 30th pitch in the inning. And the 2-2 pitch on the way. Breaking ball popped up in fair ground. Coming down is third baseman Franco to make the catch for the out. So the Dodgers lead 3, and at the end of an inning, no score. And before the game, Consul General of Japan Harry Horanuchi presented Peter O'Malley the certificate and the Order of the Rising Sun, gold raised with a neck ribbon. And you're going to see a very touching moment. Hideo Nomo brings flowers up and presents to Peter. when Hideo Nomo was going into the Japanese Hall of Fame, Peter O'Malley walked out and presented Hideo with the flowers. So the turnabout was a lovely touch here. Meanwhile, Francoeur takes a strike, and the next pitch off speed in there. The changeup at 73, and the count 0-2. Peter O'Malley has been to Japan at least 85 times. Strike 2 pitch on the way is in there again. So Francoeur caught looking and becomes strikeout number 2 with Carlos Reyes coming up. There is the certificate with the Consul General, Mr. O'Malley, and Hideo Nomo. And I know that Peter O is deeply touched over the award. It all started really with his father, Walter O'Malley, back in 1956 when he took the Brooklyn Dodgers to Japan to play a group of Japanese all-stars, and that really started it. The batter now, Carlos Ruiz, and he's hit by the pitch. So Ruiz grazed and goes to first. It wasn't a case of evening up. In other words, Turner was hit no balls, 2 strikes. Now Ruiz is hit on the left elbow. So each pitcher annoyed at himself. Justin Turner was nailed on a no ball, 2 strike count. So Ruiz standing at first, the veteran catcher who's worn the Dodgers out in the postseason. And here is Freddie Galvis hitting .276. He has a 9-game hitting streak. Terrific talent. In fact, he and Hernandez are both from the same area. In fact, played against each other starting in Little League. Galvis, a bunt, lays down a beauty. It's picked up, in fact, overrun by Turner. Oh, what a great bunt single by Freddie Galvis. So with 1 out, a hit batter and a bunt single, and the Phillies are in business. A really great drop on that bunt. No play for Kershaw, and really no play for Justin Turner. Philadelphia, and we were talking about it the other night, they get a lot of infield hits. I think they've had like 32 plus that bunt. So I would guess they've had about 33 infield hits. And here's Dominic Brown, long and lean left-hand batter, takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Brown not hitting much at all, batting .189. He hasn't played a lot. Kershaw in a spot of trouble here. Second inning, no score. Brown waiting on the strike 1 pitch. That's a little high and away. Brown is about 6'5", long and lean. 1 for 5 with an RBI in the 2 games. 1 ball and 1 strike the count. One Kershaw taking a picture, another Kershaw taking dead aim. 2 on, 1 out, no score. Second inning, Clayton delivers and gets the outside corner for a strike, and the count 1-2. Dominic Brown is 6'5" and about 205 pounds. When he came up in 2013, he hit 27 home runs, 83 runs batted in, but he hadn't come close to anything like that since. Here's the 1-2 pitch to Dominic. Florida boy swings, fouls it away down the line, out of play. Brown was the first player in Major League history to have at least 10 home runs in a calendar month without a walk. That was that great year when he had the 27 home runs. Brown waiting, 1-2. Kershaw out of a stretch. Ruiz and Galvis taking their leads, and the 1-2 pitch down and dirty. Nice save by A.J. Ellis, and a new ball put in play. Dominic Brown went to the same high school in Georgia that produced Brandon Phillips, the all-star for Cincinnati. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Kershaw ready, looks and delivers, and it's swung on, lifted into shallow center. Rollins out, Peterson in. Rollins for the catch, and it's ruled an infield fly. So automatic out. So Brown pops up. And the batter now will be Adam Morgan. Adam Morgan, in his 2 previous games, 0 for 5, striking out twice. Bats as he pitches left-handed. So Ruiz hit by a pitch at second. Galvis aboard with a bunt single. Kershaw out of a stretch. Clayton ready and delivers. Fastball in there for a strike. 0-1. The Phillies, of course, don't see Clayton very often. So if you look down in their dugout, they are all bunched at the railing, watching his every move. There's Cole Hamels, but they're all intent. Here's the strike 1 pitch on the way. Swung on and missed. A pitch up that might have been out of the strike zone. 0-2 the count. Clayton, remember, had a string, and still does, of scoreless innings, 19 2/3 against Philadelphia. Now the strike 2 pitch coming up. Clayton set. Here he comes. Big, slow, overhand breaking ball in the dirt. And a 1-ball, 2-strike count. The Phillies, by winning last night, a big victory because they have struggled. They've only won 11 games on the road. So Morgan with Chad Billingsley sitting in the dugout after a fine performance last night. Here's the 1-2 pitch coming up. Swung on and fouled back. For Clayton now, after a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, he's getting ready to make his 27th pitch, 16th in the inning. Two on, 2 out. No score. Top of the 2nd inning. Beautiful evening. 72 degrees when the game started. And the 1-2 pitch on the way. Clayton delivers, and he's low. 2-2. Japan night. Brings back a lot of memories of 1956. You want a quick lesson in Japan? You want to say good morning? Very easy. Ohio. Like Cincinnati and Dayton, etc. Ohio. The 2-2 pitch on the way. Swung on and fouled off. Good afternoon. Konnichiwa. Good evening. Konbawa. Skoshi Nihongo Hanasemasu ne. That means I speak a very little Japanese, and I'm really bragging because I don't know much more than that. But it's a night for it. 2-2 the count. Big curveball drops in. That change curve for strike 3. So no runs, 1 hit, a hit batter and 2 left, and at the end of an inning and a half, no score. under in attendance Sunday, Dodgers and Brewers, and you'll receive a Dodgers Kids hamper presented by Time Warner Cable. For more information, go to Dodgers.com/promotions. I don't want it to get in the way, but one other thing on Japan night, and you might get a kick out of this. If you want to say thank you very much in Japanese, domo arigato gozaimashita. That's the thank you very much. Now, the reply to that in Japanese would be doi tashimashite. Don't mention it. Well, the GIs could not say doi tashimashite. So they'd be in Japan, and somebody would say domo arigato gozaimashita, and the GI soldier would say, don't touch the mustache. And that was all during World War II. Don't touch the mustache. Okay, that's enough. Bottom of the second inning, no score. Jimmy Rollins against Adam Morgan. First ball swinging, drive down the right field line. Jimmy will have an extra base hit. Dominic Brown over to pick it up. Rollins is holding on at second. Boy, he was tasting third, but he jammed on the brakes. So Rollins, who broke a tie in Game 1 with a base hit to break a 7-7 tie, now opens up the second inning tonight with a double to right field. Dominic Brown, who has a very good arm. He's a daddy long legs out there at 6'5". Rollins was thinking 3, looked over at Bundy, rounding second, and then whoops, okay. So a runner at second, nobody out. A.J. Ellis, Lorenzo Bundy, the traffic cop at third. No score, bottom of the second inning. Ellis hitting 187, but in the last 8 games, when he gets into play, he's hitting 353. Morgan set at the belt, looks at second, works the plate, in with a high strike. 0-1 to count to A.J. Ellis likes to go the other way. Freddie Galvis is way over to the left to cut down Rollins' lead. So there's a sizable hole at shortstop. Strike one pitch. A.J. looks, and that's low. 1-1 the count. A.J. is only in his 29th game, and the Dodgers playing their 86th game. 1 ball and 1 strike. Morgan very deliberate. The 1-1 pitch. A.J. backs off. It's low. 2-1 the count. Jimmy Rollins taking his lead at second base. He has stolen 6, but he's been caught 7 times. Morgan looks back at him. The 2-1 pitch. Ellis takes inside. Ball 3. So Morgan made 30 pitches in the first inning. Whatever number of pitches he made to Peterson was extra after that poor play by Freddie Galvis. 3-1 the count. Morgan at the belt, looks at second, and full turn on the rubber, and Jimmy back to the bag. Severino Gonzalez will be on the mound for Philadelphia tomorrow night against Zach Greinke. Greinke sitting alongside Andre Ethier in the Dodger dugout. The 3-1 pitch. Ellis swings and a drive to left and deep. Going back is Francoeur, watching this one go over the wall. A.J. Ellis hits it out, and the Dodgers lead 2-0. For Ellis, his first home run of the year. He now has 5 runs batted in. Last home run was in September of last year at Chicago. So A.J. hits it out, and the Dodgers jump out in front 2-0. And now here's Clayton Kershaw. Morgan ready and delivers, and Clayton lifts one to left field. just missed that thing, hit under it, and Francoeur is there to one-hand it for the out. One away. Clayton, who has 69 base hits in his career. Ellis getting slaps from the big guy, Mark McGwire. And now here's Yasiel Puig. Dodgers 2, Phillies nothing. A reminder, the Giants lost this afternoon. Dodgers have a chance to pick up a game and lead by 5. Puig fouls it back, and the count 0-1. The play by Galvis that should have been a routine out at first. It cost Morgan 5 additional pitches to Jock Peterson in the first inning. Strike one pitch is low. So instead of 25 pitches, Morgan had to make 30. Now he's made 9 so far here in the second inning. Young left-hander reading Carlos Ruiz. Adam turns and his 1-1 pitch on the way. Fastball inside. Everybody needs some advice. When Adam Morgan was pitching in Atlanta, his hometown, with the big crowd, Cameron Roop, the catcher, went out and said to him, "Don't look up, just look at me." And that's what he did, and he pitched a dandy. 2-1 pitch, check swing, and that's going to cost a strike. 2 balls and 2 strikes. So all Morgan did was stare down at Rupp, not looking at the surroundings, not listening to the Atlanta war chant, and pitched very well. 2-2 pitch on the way. Swung on, grounded foul outside at third, and the count remains 2 balls and 2 strikes. Adam Morgan, when you put some years on, and if he continues to be successful, you talk about a crafty left-hander. Well, his father's first name is Wiley. Oh, maybe he'd be a wily left-hander as Puig fouls another one back. 2-2 the count to Yasiel, hitting .280, 3 home runs, 10 runs batted in. It's been a lot of slow going for Yasiel. Morgan on the first base side of the rubber looks into Ruiz, and his 2-2 pitch on the way. Little tapper wide of first. Up with it there is Ruff. The feed and the foot race, and it's won by the pitcher. So Adam Morgan beats Puig to the bag. We have 2 down, and Howie Kendrick coming up. Howie Kendrick walked in the first inning. Kendrick was then followed by Turner, hit on an 0-2 pitch. Dodgers wound up leaving the bases loaded in the first inning, but Ellis hits one out with Rollins aboard, and the Dodgers lead 2-0 here in the second. AJ's last home run, September of last year. Howie checks in. Here comes Morgan over the top with a breaking ball, but not much break on it. Stayed up for ball 1. 2 runs, 2 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 2 hits for the Phils. Now the 1-0 pitch on the way. Swung on and missed. Off speed. Kendrick out in front of it. Adam Morgan is 6'1" and a good 195. 3rd round pick out of the University of Alabama. 1-1 pitch. Great straight change, and Kendrick way out in front of it. 1-2. Howie back up. Turner waiting. 2 out, bases empty. 2-0 Dodgers. And the 1-2 pitch on the way. Another change comebacker, speared by Morgan, who flips to first, and that's the inning. But Jimmy Rollins opened up with a double to right field. That brought up A.J. Ellis, and A.J. hits one over the wall in left center. Gets applause from Mark McGwire, gives the Dodgers a deuce, and at the end of 2, they lead 2-0. with a man aboard, and now it'll be the top of the order. That means Cesar Hernandez, the second baseman, hits a little roller by the mound. Kendrick picks it up and throws him out. I think one reason why there's so many first ball attempts to hit Kershaw is the hitters have so much respect for him. They do not want to get deep in the count. So they're coming off the bench over 40% of the time, swinging at the first pitch. However, hitting the first pitch, the opposition has also been successful. The opponents are hitting .328 on that first pitch with 4 home runs. That's a strike to Odubel Herrera, who singled on a no-ball, 2-strike slow curveball in the first inning. That was a shock, only the 5th hit that Kershaw has allowed on an 0-2 count. Fastball, and he has him 0-2 again. A no-ball, 2-strike count, the opposition this year is hitting less than 100, .091 against Clayton. Kershaw ready, and his strike 2 pitch on the way, down and dirty, dug out by Ellis, new ball put in play, and a 1-2 count. So AJ doing a good job with the bat and a nice job behind the plate. Top of the third, 2-0 Dodgers. Kershaw ready, curveball foul back. Or maybe a fastball that jumped at the last minute. Still 1 ball and 2 strikes to count. Odubel Herrera looking down. They got John Mazarak, but there's not much to do. Not much of a sign when it's 1-2. Clayton ready, and his 1-2 pitch on the way. Bad ball down and away. Odubel overmatched on that pitch. Down he goes. So 2 out in the third. And for Kershaw, he now has 4 strikeouts. He's averaging 11.6 strikeouts per 9 innings. And here is Franco, who flied to center in the first inning. By the way, the Phillies had that bunt single by Galvis. Big swing and a miss at the first pitch by Franco. The Phillies with 69 infield hits. The Pirates have 97. I had a note that it was 89, but we get here 69. Ground ball to Howie Kendrick. Flips over to first, and down go the Phillies. So that's 5 in a row. Going out in the third, and at the end of 2.5 innings, 2-0 in favor of the Dodgers. Bottom of the third inning. Dodgers 2, Phillies nothing. Adam Morgan, the left-hander, against Clayton Kershaw. For the Dodgers, Justin Turner, Adrian Gonzalez, and then Scott Van Slyke. Turner, on a no-ball 2-strike count, was hit for the 8th time this year. Turner's having another wonderful year, but there's also a big difference as he takes a pitch low and in, ball 1. Last year, hitting against left-hand pitching, Turner batted .323. This year, so far, he's hitting .136 against left-handers. Backs off again a pitch at his right ankle. 2 balls and no strikes. Turner, Gonzalez, Van Slyke, and if anybody gets on, Jock Peterson. The 2-0 pitch, that finds the mark. 2-1. The weather is so beautiful and a fine crowd on hand. One reason, I'm sure, a chance to see Clayton pitch. 2-1 pitch on the way, fastball low and away. Kershaw has made 37 pitches, has hit a batter, has struck out 4, and allowed 2 hits, no runs. Now the 3-1 pitch on the way, sliced foul off to the right, carrying upstairs. 3-2. Jacob deGrom, the Rookie of the Year last year, one of that 6-man starting staff for the Mets, shut down the Giants 4-1. Here's the 3-2 pitch on the way. Turner fouls it back. The only Giant run was driven in by Hunter Pence, who knocked in 2 of the 3 runs the Giants scored last night. So Pence is back, and the Giants figure to be better for it. Turner waits for the 3-2 pitch. Adam Morgan ready. The 25-year-old left-hander's fastball is fouled back. Turner, with his body language, lets you know that that was a pitch he thought he should have driven. Like the fisherman who let the big one get away. 3-2 the count. Dodgers lead 2-0. Second inning home run by A.J. Ellis with a man aboard. Turner on an off-speed pitch, lifting a fly ball to left center, but right there is Herrera to make the catch. 1 away in the third. Adrian Gonzalez coming up. We were talking a moment ago about Justin Turner being hit by the pitch and the fact that he'd been hit 8 times this year, and you say, boy, that's a lot. Well, first baseman Anthony Rizzo of the Cubs has already been hit 18 times. Adrian batting .290. Adam Morgan ready. Adrian looks at a strike. Rizzo hit 18. Alex Gordon 12. Lucas Duda 11. Justin Turner down the list at 8. Strike 1 pitch off speed at 77, and Gonzalez way out in front of him. 0-2 the count. So that was the thing that impressed Ryne Sandberg and Pete Mackanin. The fact that Adam Morgan, who was 0-6 when they called him up from the minor leagues, changing pitches constantly, and looks like he's been around a while. Strike 2 pitch, swung on, hit in the air to shallow left field, and that's going to drop in front of Francoeur. So Gonzalez, who reached on the flip era by Freddie Galvis, now on an 0-2 count, singles to left field. So for Morgan, he can say to himself, well, if Kershaw gives up an 0-2 base hit to Herrera, I guess I can give up an 0-2 base hit to a hitter like Adrian Gonzalez. Scotty Van Slyke struck out in the first inning. Morgan ready. Fastball line down the left field line. Francoeur over to get it. Stopping at second is Gonzalez. The Scotty going up there gets a fastball, and he was not about to take it. So with one out, an 0-2 base hit for Gonzalez, and then a first pitch base hit by Van Slyke. First and second, one out, and Jock Peterson coming up. Peterson popped up in the first inning. Left-hander 0 for 1. Morgan looks in. Peterson settling in. 2 on, 1 out. Third inning, 2-0 Dodgers. Adam Morgan at the belt. Looks back at second. Works a pitch that's hit foul up along first. And the count 0-1. Jock Peterson, an all-star, along with Grandal and Adrian Gonzalez, Zach Greinke, all going to Cincinnati. Grandal, who has certainly had an all-star year or half a year, and the same with Adrian. For Peterson, the jury would be out. Morgan ready, and it's foul back, and the count 0-2. Peterson right now battling to stay above 230. But he does have the 20 home runs. And if nothing else, they can always use his tremendous ability of playing center field. Meanwhile, McGuire talking to Mattingly, I'm sure, about that all for everything swing of Jock Peterson. No balls and 2 strikes, 1 out, third inning, 2-0 Dodgers. Adam Morgan ready, but the plate umpire Paul Schreiber calling for time. Paul's been around 18 years umpiring in the big leagues. His dad was a Triple-A umpire. Never made it to the big leagues. Strike 2 pitch on the way. Peterson looks, and it's off the plate. Schreiber's the fellow who left an empty seat during the first game in memory of his late mother. The 1-2 pitch to Jock Peterson is in the dirt. Scrambling blocked by Carlos Ruiz, and a 2-ball 2-strike count. Walker now has made 64 pitches, which is too many. Yeah, on that route, you're going to make 180 if you get to the 9th inning. 2 balls and 2 strikes, 1 out. Gonzalez at second, Van Slyke at first. Jimmy Rollins waiting on deck. Morgan set, looks back at second, now to the hitter, and it is just off the plate. A 90-mile-an-hour fastball, 3-2 the count. Rollins, a typical veteran, as calm as can be, leaning on his bat with his left hand on his hip and one leg crossed in front of the other. 3-2 the count. After 15 years, now his 16th, Jimmy can afford to do that. 3-2. We'll check the runners. They don't figure to go. They don't. And there's a little comebacker. Morgan goes high, but they get a force play. The young pitcher had a perfect double play ball, looked over at third, and then almost threw the ball into center field. So a rookie mistake. They do get the force play, but instead of the inning being over, he still has to contend with Jimmy Rollins. Nice play by Galvis to go up and get it. So he had Gonzalez hit a no-ball 2-strike count for a base hit. He had Van Slyke first swing on a fastball for a base hit. Now a misjudgment on the comebacker. So Morgan is not finished. And here's Jimmy Rollins. Morgan really battling uphill. He's been behind so much already. And the first pitch, sure enough, ball 1. He's had 6 3-ball counts. In opposition, Kershaw does not have a 3-ball count. So McCannon sweating him out, passing along a sign to Carlos Ruiz. First and third, 2 out, 2-0 Dodgers, bottom of the third. Adam Morgan ready. Left-handed delivers, and he's down and away. Ball 2. So he had good moments against St. Louis. He had a wonderful 7 innings against Atlanta, and he's really doing a high wire act here in the first 3 innings tonight. Morgan checking the runners. Now the 2-0 pitch. Instead, he had the feeling that Peterson might try to go. You have A.J. Ellis on deck. Morgan peering in to get a sign. Gonzalez standing at third. Peterson bluffing over there at first. 2 out. And the 2-0 pitch to Jimmy Rollins, off speed for a high strike. Just did get that thing in about letter high. 2-1. Of course, Rollins is only 5'8" and bends slightly at the knees. Not much of a strike zone. 2-1 pitch on the way, swung on, high fly ball to left field. Back goes Francoeur to the track at the wall. It is gone. A 3-run home run by Jimmy Rollins, and the Dodgers take a commanding 5-0 lead. Four home runs allowed now by the young left-hander, and you just can't pitch in the big leagues behind to every hitter. The last home run Jimmy Rollins hit was the first week in June against Arizona, and he got all of that one. So it's 5-0 Dodgers in the third, as the Dodgers taking Adam Morgan to school a bit, and the batter will be A.J. Ellis. Bob McClure talking to the young pitcher. Got to throw strikes, son. You can't be 2-0 and 3-0. They'll burn you up. So 2 home runs tonight. 5 home runs have now been hit against the young left-hander in his 3 starts. And here comes Ellis, who hit 1 out. The close pals and the double play combination, Kendrick and Rollins, having fun with each other in the Dodger dugout. A.J. a 2-run home run in the second inning. Fastball is low. So for Adam Morgan, behind for the umpteenth time. Morgan on the first base side of the rubber. Ruiz trying to set a very patient target for him. And the next pitch, hard ground ball by the diving Hernandez into center field. They're trying to throw a strike behind 1 ball and no strikes, and Ellis was not about to take it. So A.J. singles. That is the 4th hit in the inning. Dodgers have 5 runs on a half a dozen hits, and the batter is Clayton Kershaw. Well, let's face it. I mean, you're Philadelphia. You're in last place. You are 18 games behind the Washington Nationals, and you have a lot of young players. So why not play them? Give him some more experience. Kershaw takes off the plate. Ball 1. Cole Hamels, who's the big man on the staff in just about every way. He'll open up against the Giants Friday when the Phillies go to AT&T Park. Pitch fouled away. For Cole Hamels, he has a record 5-6. Actually, in games in which he has played, the Phillies record 8-9, and without him, the Phillies have won 21 games. Meanwhile, 2 balls and 1 strike. Morgan behind and pitching uphill now to Clayton Kershaw. 2 out in the inning. And the 2-1 pitch swung on, comebacker, speared nicely. Morgan slings it over to first. I'm sure a little annoyed with himself, but the Dodgers thrilled with what's taking on. They have 5 runs in 3 innings, a 2-run home run by Ellis, and a 3-run home run by Jimmy Rollins. And at the end of 3, 5-0 Dodgers. Brought to you by the 2015 Jeep Cherokee. With an EPA estimated 31 highway MPG, it's the perfect choice. Visit Jeep.com today. And by Flex Alert. This summer, the power is in your hands. FlexAlert.org. 4th inning, 5-0 in favor of the Dodgers. 5 runs, 6 hits, including home runs by Ellis and Jimmy Rollins. Ellis with a man aboard, Rollins with 2 aboard, at the expense of the young left-hander Adam Morgan. Darren Ruff, Jeff Francoeur, and Carlos Ruiz in the 4th inning now against Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw has 21 consecutive scoreless innings against Philadelphia. Ball 1. Ruff grounded to third in the 1st inning. That's in there at the knees. 1 ball and 1 strike. Off speed at 73, and he throws a strike. Darren Ruff out of Omaha, Nebraska. He went to school at Creighton. Now, you've heard about a lot of bonuses for players. Heard of $2 million bonuses to sign, $1.5 million to sign. Darren Ruff received a bonus of $2,500. That was the beginning way back in 2009. A couple of years ago, he had a huge season at Reading and pops one foul. No play for Ellis, and the count 2-2. In 2012 in the Eastern League, Darren Ruff had 38 home runs and 104 runs batted in. With all those home runs, the players were producing Babe Ruff t-shirts. Some of the players were calling Ruffy the Ball Slayer and Ruff the Magic Dragon, but no magic there as he strikes out. So 1 away in the 4th. Kershaw with 5 strikeouts.
Jeff Francoeur.
And Jeff Francoeur struck out in the 2nd inning. Realistically, how do you like the Phillies' chances? Down 5-0 in Dodger Stadium against Clayton Kershaw. The Phillies, a team that has only won 11 games. So Cesar Hernandez and the rest have to get the giddy app going here. Franco, all of the other young players going to school, while the veterans, Hamels and Utley, no doubt thinking, oh, wouldn't we like to be involved in this one? 1-2. Francoeur has had a good career, broke in with a lot of noise against Atlanta, and last night looked like the Francoeur of those days with a double and a home run. Fastball, see you later. 94 miles an hour. That's 6 strikeouts for Clayton, and he has struck out 3 of the last 4 batters he has faced. And Carlos Ruiz coming up.
Number 51, Carlos Ruiz.
Francoeur looking, and on his way to the dugout. Clayton in full form. No doubt about that one. So 2 out, 4th inning, 5-0 Dodgers. Fastball. 0-1 to Ruiz, hit by a pitch in the 2nd inning. A guy who just absolutely wore the Dodgers out in the postseason. I think he was hitting something like 349, 345 to be exact. 1-2. For Ruiz, like any catcher, always very proud, not so much of the hitting, but of receiving. And his greatest moment back in 2010, he caught Roy Halladay's perfect game against the Miami Marlins. 1-2. 2-2. Every now and then when you watch Ruiz, and we'll do it tonight, when we watch him catch, he'll extend his right leg. Brought back memories. Remember Tony Pena? He caught like that all the time. Off speed pitch fouled away. 74 miles an hour. Chooch, as they call him, from Chiriqui in Panama. 36 years old and still grinding away behind the plate. 2-2. Fastball, check swing, no swing. All eyes on the veteran umpire Jim Reynolds. For Ruiz, 2012, big year with the bat. 16 home runs, 68 runs batted in. He's never had anything close to that again or before. This time a high fly ball. Puig is there. So an easy inning in the 4th for Clayton Kershaw. He walks off with a very comfortable and nodding over to look like not Ellis but the plate umpire. 5-0 Dodgers. Fireworks show featuring music from the 70s. For more information, go to Dodgers.com/promotions. Fourth inning, the Dodgers will send up Puig, Kendrick, and Turner against a hard-pressed left-hander, Adam Morgan. He has made 76 pitches. He's given up 5 runs and a half a dozen hits. Puig, however, 0 for 2, flied to right, grounded out. Morgan is desperate to get a first pitch strike. Puig hitting .278. There's that first pitch strike. For the Dodgers, the bottom of the lineup, the 7 and 8 hitters, 4 for 4, 2 home runs, all 5 RBIs. The rest of the lineup 2 for 12. Isn't that amazing? The 2 for 12 would be Gonzalez a single and Van Slyke a single. But you have Rollins with a double and a 3-run home run. Ellis with a home run and a single. All the damage has been done down there. And once again now Morgan pitching uphill. 2 balls and 1 strike. Ready to make his 80th pitch. On the corner. Of course, the other night, Sean O'Sullivan in 5 1/3 innings made a rather unbelievable 123 pitches. Where is he tonight? In the minor leagues. And once again Morgan fighting it. 3 and 2. Fastball, line drive, over and speared by Herrera. Saying over his head, and Odubel went up and made the catch. Puig looking out there as if to say, how'd you do that? So that thing almost took off. Herrera up the ladder and makes the catch. Wow. Well, that's as hard a hit ball as Puig has hammered in a while, and Herrera takes it away from him. And the batter, Howie Kendrick. Herrera, by the way, is 5'11", so he had to go up and get it. Pop fly coming in for it is Brown.
Third baseman, Justin Turner.
2 out in the 4th inning. Justin Turner coming up. Morgan could sure use an easy inning. Justin Turner hit by a pitch, fly to center. A second baseman who played for several teams, Montreal, the Mets, and the Dodgers, by the name of Ron Hunt, was hit 50 times one year. Right. The old story, take one for the club, and Hunt would do that. 0-1. 1 ball and 1 strike. So Puig swung at the first pitch, fouled out. Kendrick swung at the first pitch, flied out. So here's Turner now, 1 and 2. So you're looking at a left-hander who made 76 pitches coming into the inning. So he's made 10 pitches and he has 2 outs and a 1 and 2 count on Turner. Two and 2. Justin batting .313, 11 home runs, and a high fly ball. Jeff Francoeur So for the first time tonight, a 1-2-3 inning for Adam Morgan, and at the end of 4, 5-0 Dodgers, and a good catch by Odubel. Dodgers go behind the scenes. Catcher Yasmani Grandal visits his old stomping grounds in Florida. Plus, our cameras come along during Josh Beckett Day at Marlins Park. So don't miss Backstage Dodgers tomorrow at 5 on Sportsnet LA. Clayton Kershaw has allowed 2 hits. He has made 54 pitches. He has struck out 6, and he has hit a batter. He has also now racked up 22 consecutive scoreless innings against Philadelphia. Strike. So he's been completely the opposite of Adam Morgan, even though they're each left-handed. And another strike. Galvis laid down as good a bunt as you'd want to see in the second inning. Phillies have 13 bunt hits this year. He pokes that ball to Kendrick. That might have been out of the strike zone. So 1 out in the 5th. Kershaw now, since the bunt single, has gotten everybody. So 9 in a row. And here is Dominic Brown. Dominic popped up in the second inning. And a shot inside the line down the corner. Brown, who runs very well into second base, and he'll hold there. So a 1-out double by Dominic Brown. And let's see about Adam Morgan. He was on his way up to the plate, and it looks like they might call him back. So Morgan goes back into the dugout.
Adam Morgan.
Then maybe he was just getting another bat, and here he comes. So 1 out. Brown at second base. Morgan has made 88 pitches in 4 innings. And a strike. Morgan must be saying, how does he do that? I mean, I'm throwing ball 1, ball 2, and every first pitch it seems he gets for a strike. 0-1. Pretty good swing by a pitcher on a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. 0-2. Hector Neris, a right-hander, gets up in the Philadelphia bullpen. Though when Morgan started back to the dugout, it looked like he was coming out for a hitter. 0-2. Change curve, swung on and missed. Out of the dirt, Ellis records the out. So that's 7 strikeouts for Clayton Kershaw. He's got Morgan twice. So with Brown at second base and 2 out, Cesar Hernandez struck out, grounded out, 0 for 2. Very good young ball player. Little comebacker. So Kershaw takes care of Hernandez, who is 0 for 3 with that 12-game hitting streak. Phillies leave Brown at second, and at the end of 4.5 innings, 5-0 Dodgers. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by your Southern California Toyota dealer. Now, during Toyota's summer savings, you can save big on any 2015 Camry. And by Jack in the Box. Taste the new black pepper cheeseburger today, only at Jack in the Box. Bottom of the 5th inning with the Dodgers leading 5-0. A little bit of a surprising maneuver by Pete Mackanin. With 1 out, Brown doubled with the Phillies down 5-0, but he sent Morgan up to bat. Morgan struck out, Hernandez grounded out, and he brought in a new pitcher, Hector Neris. So Neris from the Dominican, only 25 years old, big enough. Meanwhile, McClure talking to Adam Morgan in the Philadelphia dugout. Ball 1 to Adrian Gonzalez, who reached on the error and single left, batting .292. Off speed for a strike. 1 ball and 1 strike. That's a strike. 1 and 2. And chased and missed. So Gonzalez goes down, and we have 1 out here in the bottom of the 5th inning. Hector Neris last year pitching in the minor leagues had a 15-inning scoreless streak at one stage. signed as an amateur free agent 5 years ago. They load up the left side on Scott Van Slyke, who struck out in the first inning and hit the first pitch fastball for a base hit in the third. Oh, 0-2 the count. Five runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers, 2 big home runs, and a drive to left center. Racing over is Francoeur. It's off the wall. Into second base goes Scotty with a long double. So Van Slyke 2 for 3, and Jock Peterson will be coming up. Take another look. Pitch was down a bit. Scotty went after it, whacks it to the gap, short hops the wall. So a nice double for Van Slyke. That would be his 9th double. Hector Neris was not with Philadelphia when this series started. He might very well have just arrived today. His name is not mentioned in the pregame notes. And a strike to Peterson. He's been in 2 games, so that much we know. No balls and 1 strike the count to Jock Peterson. Popped up, hit into a force play. A comebacker that should have been a double play. Instead, they throw high. They lost the double play, and then Rollins came up and hit a 3-run home run. So if Adam Morgan makes a much better play, it's a much better game for Morgan and the Phillies. Jock now has dipped below 230, hitting 229. It's all part of the learning process. Ground foul for Clayton Kershaw. He's been breezing. He's only made 62 pitches. He has struck out 7. He is leading 5-0. And he has 23 consecutive scoreless innings against Philadelphia. That old line, there are lies, damned lies, and statistics. Well, when you look at Clayton Kershaw, it looks like a lie. 5 wins, 6 losses. Lifetime against Philadelphia 2-4. Last 8 starts, 3 wins, 3 losses, and a 1.7 earned run average. Are you kidding? Those are statistics. Ball 1. Interesting too about run support for Clayton. In his last 3 starts, the Dodgers got Kershaw a total of 5 runs in the 3 starts. They got him 5 runs tonight in the first 3 innings. And for Peterson, the struggle continues. So 2 out. Neris has struck out 2. And the batter, Jimmy Rollins, who doubled and homered. And ball 1. Jimmy took the opportunity after that poor play by Adam Morgan. It was a double play ball to the box. Morgan looked at third, then threw high to second for 1, but it should have been for 2. But it was only 1. So then Rollins came up and hit a 3-run home run. So for Adam Morgan, like Jock Peterson and all the young players, it's all part of the process. 1-2. You wonder the reaction back in Philadelphia with Jimmy having a good series, the first time that he goes head to head with his old ball club. Rollins hitting .214. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And that's ball 3. A.J. Ellis, who has a home run and a single, following Rollins, who has a double and a home run. So that's the punch and the sock in the number 7 and 8 spot. 3-2. And a fly ball, shallow center, Herrera. So double by Van Slyke, but the Dodgers leave him. And at the end of 5-0 Dodgers, and time for Clayton to go back to work. The All-Star game, which had been played at the Coliseum, was finally played here at Dodger Stadium in 1980. That was also the introduction of the Diamond Vision board in left field. Well, the National League won the game 4-2. That gave them 9 straight victories against the American League. Ken Griffey of the Reds hit a home run. He was the MVP, and the Dodgers were represented by 6 players. We'll talk about that, but right now let's go back to this one. "5-0 Dodgers. Herrera, Franco, and Ruff in that order. The Dodgers who played in that All-Star game: Steve Garvey, Davey Lopes, Bill Russell, Reggie Smith, Jerry Royce, and Bob Welch. And the National League's honorary captain for the 1980 All-Star game here at Dodger Stadium, the late Roy Campanella. 56,000 were here to see that one. I hear you. I wonder when the next All-Star game will be played here. Herrera single to center, slow curveball on a no-ball 2-strike count. That was almost historic to get a base hit under those conditions against Kershaw. Last time up, the center fielder struck out. He made a good play on that line drive hit by Puig in the 4th inning. And down he goes again. So Kershaw now has 8 strikeouts, and the batter is Franco, who is fly to center, grounded out.
Third baseman, Michael Franco.
Michael Franco, fly to center, grounded out. Darren Ruff grounded to third and struck out. Phillies only have 3 hits. That's a fly ball. Puig digging to come up with it, but it's going to drop in front of him. So Franco, little dunker into right field for a base hit. That would be hit number 4 for the Phils. Herrera a single, Franco a single, Galvis a bunt single, and Dominic Brown a double. Ruff has grounded to third and struck out. He had a walk and a base hit last night. Giants lost this afternoon to the Mets. Dodgers trying to win tonight and get 5 in front. And for the Mets, pretty nice trip. They come to California and they win 2 out of 3 here, and then go up north and win 2 out of 3 from the Giants. Mets are trying to catch Washington. They're 3.5 games back. In there. That's what's going on in the West. But you see where Arizona is. They're creeping right up behind the Giants. Clayton, 69 pitches, 7 pitches so far here in the 6th inning. 1 ball, 1 strike. Fastball hit to the hole, base hit to left field. So Ruff comes up with a single. And the Phillies now have runners at first and second, 1 out. And Jeff Francoeur, the veteran, coming up. Francoeur's had a tough time against Kershaw, joining a long list. Francoeur has struck out in the 2nd and struck out in the 4th. Francoeur, over the last 40 some odd games, hitting .312 coming into this game. And that's going to get away, and the runners will move up to 2nd and 3rd with 1 out. So we'll check and take a look. Here's the look. In the dirt. Hits Ellis in the chest, and it's a wild pitch. So first base open, 1 ball and no strikes to Jeff Francoeur. On deck, Carlos Ruiz. That's going to go foul down the line. 1-1 to count. Tomorrow night, the final game of the series. Severino Gonzalez. He'll go up against Zach Greinke. Greinke is 7-2 with an almost unbelievable earned run average of 1.4. Worthy of the All-Star. And a high pop fly. Jimmy Rollins. So Francoeur losing a chance to pick up an RBI at least. 2 down, and Carlos Ruiz coming up.
Catcher, Carlos Ruiz.
Carlos Ruiz was hitting well against Kershaw. He was hitting .357. That would be 5 for 14. Tonight, hit by a pitch, fly to right, and struggling at .224. But as we said, Carlos Ruiz now 36 years old. 5-0 Dodgers, top of the 6th. Fastball for ball one. Japan night here at Dodger Stadium. Consul General of Japan, Harry Horniuchi, presenting Peter O'Malley with a certificate and a gorgeous medal of the rising sun with gold spikes. There was a touch of Irish in it, though. Beautiful emerald green. Ball two. Freddie Galvis, the shortstop, on deck. Two and 0 to Carlos, the pride of Panama. Fastball drilled in there at 94. 2-1 the count. First real threat against Kershaw tonight. Second and third, 2 out, and the 2-1 pitch. Fastball, little pop fly. Ruiz couldn't get around on it. That'll be that. So no runs, 2 hits, a wild pitch just to make it interesting. He's now got 24 consecutive scoreless innings against the Phillies and walks off leading 5-0. A gem thus far, allowing 5 hits, striking out 7. A.J. Ellis giving him a lot of help behind the plate and at the plate. A.J. hitting a 2-run home run in the second inning, and then a base hit in the third. Applause in the background. They have a camera up on the suite showing Hideo Nomo joining the large group, celebrating Peter O'Malley's reception of that magnificent medal and great honor given to him before the game. We mentioned it once, we can mention it again. It was really a sweet moment. The crowd didn't really understand when Hideo Nomo was going into the Japanese Hall of Fame. Peter O'Malley went out to Japan, to Tokyo, and when they were giving Nomo the award, Peter carried a large bouquet of flowers and presented it to Hideo. And tonight, when Peter O'Malley was being honored, it was Hideo Nomo returning the favor and bringing the flowers to Peter. A lovely moment. Consul General Harry Horniuchi. Meanwhile, Ellis coming up with his 3rd hit, and the batter Clayton Kershaw shows bunt, takes ball 1. We were wondering about Hector Neris because the Phillies, at least on their chart, they do not have a transaction area. They have a disable list, but not a transaction. And we wondered just where'd he come from? Foul ball. Well, the other night We mentioned Sean O'Sullivan, who made 123 pitches in 5 1/3 innings. The next day they sent O'Sullivan out, and Neris was called up. So here he is. He had some impressive notes in the minor leagues. The bunt is down. Neris's play is to first base, and the sacrifice works. So the batter will be Yasiel Puig as Kershaw gets the bunt down. For Clayton, that's his 4th sacrifice. So he does everything well. Does his job, moves his man along, and gets 5s for it. Puig flied to right, grounded to first, and lined out to center. That was one he scorched. And at the last moment it took off, and Odubel Herrera leaped in the air to spear it. Ball 1. We talked about Neris in the minor leagues. In 391 minor league innings, Hector struck out 398. Well, he struck out 2 in the 5th inning. Two and 0. Adam Morgan missed making the double play in the 3rd inning, and that changed the game completely. It was 2-0. He missed what would have ended the inning with the double play. That brought up Rollins, who hit a 3-run home run. So for the moment, behind Kershaw, it's a cakewalk. 5-0 Dodgers. Ellis at second, 1 out. Puig trying to pick him up. Kendrick on deck. 2-2. Puig, a picture of frustration, fouling that fastball back. I think he felt he should have driven that one. Two and 2. Well, down he goes. So that's 3 strikeouts for Neris. And the batter will be Howie Kendrick. Howie Kendrick walked, hit back to the box, fly to right, 0 for 2. And a strike. So Hector Neris, Neris, has allowed 2 hits, struck out 3 in an inning and 2/3. One ball, 1 strike. Jake Diekman, a left-hander, getting up because Neris is due to bat 3rd when the Phillies come up in the 7th inning. Ball 2. Consider the fact we know now that he had so many strikeouts in the minor leagues. Neris with 3 strikeouts tonight has 5 strikeouts and 1 walk since being called up. Two balls, 1 strike. Ball 3. Dodgers scored 2 in the 2nd, the home run by Ellis. Then Morgan missed the double play, and the Dodgers scored 3 in the 3rd. And that's it. And that's a strike. Ellis just hanging around out there at second base, looking for a ride home. Kendrick trying to pick him up. 7 home runs, 37 runs batted in for Howie. Fastball got him. Wow. So Neris works 2 innings and strikes out 4, just like the minor leagues. And at the end of 6, it's 5-0 Dodgers. Today at 7:10, the Dodgers and the Brewers, and receive a Juan Uribe bobblehead presented by Farmer John. For more information, go to Dodgers.com/promotions. Clayton Kershaw kind of doing what he did last year. Last year, in his first 6 starts, he was 3-2. In his next 21 starts, he was 18-1. This year, in his first 9 starts, 2-3. With a win tonight, he will be 4-3 in the last 9 starts, and his earned run average over that stretch, 1.6. Freddie Galvis, who bunted for a base hit, grounded out. Freddie 1 for 2. Galvis wide open up there, and then swings that leg back and slaps it over the glove of Howie Kendrick. So Galvis goes 2 for 3.
Right fielder Dominic Brown.
And that'll bring up Dominic Brown. So Kershaw has allowed 6 hits. He has not walked anybody. He hit a batter. He has struck out 8. And here's Brown. Popped up, double to right. And ball 1. Dominic Brown, obviously a pretty good eye at the strike zone. Against the Cardinals, he walked 3 times in a game. He was called back the middle of June from Lehigh Valley. That's AAA. Ball 2. For Brown, he began the year on the DL, a left Achilles tendonitis. He has a very good arm. 2-0. Ground ball into right field. Galvis stopping at second. So here in the 7th inning, Philadelphia trying to get off the floor. They get a single by Galvis, a single by Brown, and they'll go to the bench. Ryan Howard is coming up. So the Phillies really get their first look at the game right now. Remember, in the last inning, Phillies had runners at second and third. Clayton got out of it. Now first and second and nobody out. So Ryan Howard checking in. 14 home runs, 41 RBIs, 1 hit in the series. That was a home run. And a strike. Kershaw going head to head against the big left-hand hitter Ryan Howard. Howard is 2 for 14 against him. That would be a 143 batting average. 0-1. 0-2. Howard, of course, years ago, a tremendous factor in Philadelphia's success. Tremendous power. One year, Ryan Howard had 58 home runs back in 2006. Ball 1. So Kershaw coming out of one jam in the 6th and another jam here in the 7th, but still leading handily 5-0. When Howard had 58 home runs, he had 149 runs batted in. I mean, he was a one-man gang. But not now. That would be the 9th strikeout for Clayton Kershaw. For Philadelphia, going to be a tough haul trying to replace big hitters like Ryan Howard and Chase Utley. They don't come along very often. So now Cesar Hernandez 0 for 3, and he has a 12-game hitting streak. Switch hitter, batting right-handed. Ball 1. Hernandez, that 12-game streak, a career best, and during that streak, by the way, hitting .451, but he has run into Kershaw, and he's 0 for 3 tonight. One and one. Hernandez and Galvis playing against each other in Little League in Little Town. Now they're the double play combination for the Phillies in the big league. And Galvis is out there at second base. Ball 2. Greinke and Gonzalez tomorrow night, final game of the 4 games. The Greinke by pitching on Thursday. The All-Star game is on Tuesday. 2-1. Fastball and caught by Kendrick. The feed to Rollins not in time. Close but no cigar. And for Hernandez, a line drive out. That could be the end of a 12-game hitting streak. Tough way to end it. Hit that ball right on the screws.
Center fielder number 37, Odubel Herrera.
So 2 down. Odubel Herrera has singled to center. That was that no ball 2-strike curveball in the first inning. Hernandez thinking about hitting that right on the button. And then the last 2 times up, Herrera has struck out. Kershaw with 9 strikeouts in 6 2/3 innings, averaging a little better than 11.5 strikeouts for every 9 innings. Oh and 1. Maikel Franco on deck. 5 runs, 8 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 7 hits now for the Phils. 0-2. Kershaw with 24 consecutive scoreless innings, an out away from making it 25. He has also made 92 pitches and huffing and puffing a little bit. Oh and 2. One and 2. Freddie Galvis at second. Dominic Brown at first. 2 out. Kershaw ready to make his 94th pitch, which means his 17th pitch in the inning. Check swing. Down he goes. So Kershaw strikes out 2 in the inning, 10 in the game, and he now has 25 consecutive scoreless innings against the Phillies. And at the end of 6.5, 5-0 Dodgers. We have arrived at the bottom of the 7th inning. The Dodgers leading handily 5-0 behind Kershaw. And for the Phillies, they've had Morgan, Neris, and now Diekman, Jake Diekman out of Nebraska, out of Cloud County Community College in Kansas. 30th round pick by Philadelphia. Jake is 6'4", 200, 28 years old. Came up to Philadelphia 2 years ago, and he's been up and down each year. Ball 1. Justin Turner hit by a pitch, fly to center, fly to left, batting .311. Ball 2. Jake Diekman, born in Wymore, Nebraska. That was a town that doesn't field a high school baseball team, so his sport was golf. Started to play a little bit in the summer, playing for an American Legion team. 2-1 to Justin Turner. Dodgers have really gotten the production from the number 7 and 8 hitter in the lineup. 2-2 the count. Rollins has a double followed by a home run by Ellis. Rollins a 3-run home run. That's the biggest swing. That's after Peterson hit back to the box. Adam Morgan looked briefly, quickly at third, and then threw high to second. He lost the double play. That brought Rollins up, and he hit a 3-run home run. Meanwhile, Turner goes down. In 2 innings, Hector Neris struck out 4. In the 4 innings that Morgan pitched, he struck out 1. Adrian reached down in error, got a 0-2 pitch and single to left field against Adam Morgan, and then last time up against Neris struck out. Fastball hit to short. Galvis is there. 2 down in the 7th inning. Scott Van Slyke struck out, single to left and double to left. One ball and no strikes. It was the fall of 2007, and Diekman was headed to the University of Nebraska, having gone to Cloud State. And that's when Philadelphia signed him. 2 balls, no strikes. Two and 0 the count. When Philadelphia comes up in the 8th inning, it'll be Franco, Ruff, and Francoeur. When Diekman was with the Lehigh Valley Club 2012, he was called into Ryne Sandberg's office, and Sandberg really grilled him. That's ball 4. He was saying, we have some reports here about some stuff going on in your hotel room last night. What were you doing around 10:30, 11 o'clock? Diekman said, nothing. Honest, just hanging out in the room. Well, that's not what I heard, said Sandberg. And for the next 5 minutes, Ryne was really putting Jake through the grill. And finally, Sandberg said, okay, I can't do this anymore. You're going up to the big leagues tomorrow. Probably the most memorable conversation of Diekman's young life. So with 2 out, a walk to Van Slyke, and here is Jock Peterson. 0-1. Peterson popped up, then hit that comebacker to Morgan, which is the biggest single play of the night, and then last time up struck out. Jock hitting .228. So I'm sure for Jock Peterson, first time in his life, things have turned against him. Had a great minor league career. Fine amateur player, came up to the big leagues and everything was just great. And now, like everybody else, he sips the vinegar a little bit. .20 home runs, 39 runs batted in. He golfs one into right field. So Van Slyke doesn't stop throwing into second base. He just keeps going to third. And the Dodgers with 2 out, first and third. And Peterson got a pitch down and went down to get it. A big bouncer by Ruff. So like so many left-hand hitters, Peterson likes the ball down. And that one, he might have been a golfer. It had to be awfully close to being in the dirt. So here's Jimmy Rollins. Rollins, a double, came home on Ellis' home run. Then Jimmy homered with 2 men aboard, Gonzalez and Peterson. Ball 1. So Diekman gives up a walk and a single with 2 out. And ball 2. You know, to conclude the story about Diekman and Sandberg in the hotel, after the grilling and finally Sandberg saying, no, you're going up to the big leagues, Diekman grabbed his cell phone, dialed the 402 area code, and in a factory in Beatrice, Nebraska, Paul Diekman, Jake's father, was called to the phone. Paul picked up the phone and said, son, isn't it your game time? Shouldn't you be on the bus? He said, no bus ride today. Boy, great play at third by Franco. So Diekman said, no bus ride today. And then suddenly Jake said, because I'm going to the big leagues. And his dad just couldn't breathe and began to cry. Great story. Welcome to the big leagues. But it's 5-0 Dodgers. By Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop ChooseNissan.com. Top of the 8th inning, 5-0 Dodgers. That's about the nicest picture we've had in quite a while. 3 little girls and moms, and the middle girl with the little earring and really dressed for a party, although can't quite understand what all the waving is about. Oh, welcome to the ball club, darling. Delighted to have you here. Well, here's Franco, who made an excellent play on that ball hit by Rollins. Michael fly to center, grounded out, single to right. 1-1. Kershaw, a pitch count that's up to 96. He has struck out 10. This is probably his last inning. Another swing. I know a couple of batters ago there was 17 swings and misses. With 7 innings tonight, he now has 25 scoreless innings against the Phillies. Oh, what a pitch. After all of it, he comes back with that changeup. Down goes Franco. That is 11 strikeouts for Clayton. And he has 19 swings and misses now. So Kershaw working on Ruff, who grounded to third, struck out, single to left, bangs that foul, 0-1. 1 out, 8th inning, 5-0 in favor of the Dodgers. One ball and 1 strike. Jeff Francoeur waiting on deck. Slow curveball, 1 hopper backhanded by Turner. How do you do? Whoa. What a play that was. Justin made it look easy. That's the amazing thing about these big leaguers. You have no idea how hard that is to do. And he made it look easy. 2 out in the 8th inning. Wow. So the batter now, Francoeur, has struck out twice, popped up 0 for 3. We have a discrepancy in notes. I had the note that Kershaw started the game with 18 consecutive scoreless innings. So with 7 tonight, that would give him 25. The Dodger sheet says he has not allowed a run in his last 22 innings against the Phillies. That would mean he has 30 working on 31. And this would be number 30. So it's either 26 or 30. Take whatever makes you happy. It's 5-0 Dodgers. National League All-Star. You can go to Dodgers.com and cast your 2015 Esurance MLB All-Star Game final vote. Send Clayton Kershaw to the All-Star Game in Cincinnati by voting now. And remember, voting ends 1 p.m. Pacific time on Friday. There are the 5: Kershaw, Cueto, Familia, Martinez, and Tulowitzki. One of the 5 will be going to Cincinnati. Meanwhile, Justin DeFreitas, who was born in Oxnard, went to Ventura Junior College. He appeared briefly in the first game of the series. Did well enough. DeFreitas 6'4", 220, and he'll be 28 years old in October. An 11th round pick by the Phils, and he has been up and down with them starting in 2011. A.J. Ellis having a big night. He has 2 singles and a 2-run home run. Homered to left center with Rollins aboard. Single to center in the 3rd, single to right in the 6th. 2 balls and no strike. By the way, fortunately, since I've been doing it all night, our note was correct. So with 8 innings tonight, Kershaw has a string of 26 consecutive scoreless innings. There is no one throwing in the bullpen. Clayton is on deck. Now we'll see what Mattingly decides. Three balls, 1 strike to A.J. Clayton on deck. Clayton has made 105 pitches as he stands in the on-deck circle. 105. So if we look at the Dodgers sheet and go back to Clayton's performances, last game 102, most innings and most pitches. Middle of June he had 117. That was in a no decision as far as his concern with San Diego. But with no one throwing, and we're in the bottom of the 8th, you have the thought that Clayton will try to go 9. Dodgers have 2 complete games, one by Brett Anderson and the other by Zach Greinke. And strike 3 call. So Ellis caught looking, and we have 1 out, bottom of the 8th. And here comes Clayton. Kershaw with the bat, flied to left, hit back to the box, and sacrificed. Pretty good hitter for a pitcher. Foul ball. Clayton has a half a dozen hits. He has 2 RBIs. Strikes out about a third of the time, which is very good for a pitcher. And ground ball on the grass. The play at first in time. Wonderful play by Cesar Hernandez. No wonder they talk of him as the future. So Clayton losing a base hit. And we have 2 out in the 8th inning. Hernandez going out on the grass and then gets it accurately over to first base. DeFreitas handles the throw. And here comes Yasiel Puig. Puig flied to right, grounded to first, then really hit one hard, but lined out to Herrera in center, and last time up struck out. Fastball for a strike. It's been Morgan, Neris, Diekman, and DeFreitas. The paid attendance tonight, 45,135. 45-135. Tomorrow night, Zach Greinke going for his 8th win. 1-1. 2-1. And lifted into deep center, but it looks playable to Herrera at the wall to make the catch. So a long out. Puig goes 0 for 5. Dodgers go 1-2-3. And for Clayton Kershaw, he's going to go the distance, leading 5-0 as he prepares to pitch the 9th. In the second inning, A.J. Ellis a home run with Rollins aboard. And in the third inning, Rollins a home run with Gonzalez and Peterson aboard. And really that's it in a nutshell. Plus the great effort by Kershaw. 8 scoreless innings. That gives him 26 consecutive scoreless innings against Philadelphia. 105 pitches and trying to turn in his first complete game to join Anderson and Greinke. Like the Buffalo, the complete game is disappearing. There have been 18 complete games in the National League this year. That's all, 18. Ruiz hit by a pitch, fly to right, pop to first. Joel Peralta and Kenley Jansen just in case. Bounce that pitch. (117 pitches against San Diego, his high for the year. Ruiz 0 for 2. Curveball hit towards the gap, and that's going to drop and go to the wall. So the veteran catcher jogging into second base with a double. For Ruiz, his 8th double of the year. And the batter will be Freddie Galvis. No runs, 8 hits. Jansen and Peralta continues to warm up. Galvis a bunt single, grounded out, and single to right. So the shortstop 2 for 3. Rather unusual stance, isn't it? Wide open. Foul back, 0-1. Galvis hitting a solid 280. Hernandez was hitting 301. pretty good combination around second base. (110 pitches). This is number 111 strike. Still 0-2. Well, after all those pitches, he can still hit 93 on the gun. But when you look at the total number of pitches, you realize what an incredible game that was the other night. Sean O'Sullivan, in 5 1/3 innings, made 123 pitches. And he's back in the minors. 0-2. 1-2. For Kershaw, he's had 11 no balls, 2 strikes. And he has struck out 11. No accident. One and 2 to Freddie Galvis. Time. Curveball. Big, slow overhand curve. So he's 3 pitches away from his pitch high this year. 1-2. And a roller up the middle. Kendrick will make the play. So 1 out, a runner at third. And here comes Dominic Brown. For Philadelphia, trying to break the streak of scoreless innings, they've had 1 man get to third. That was Franco in the 6th inning because of a wild pitch. So Ruiz at third, second runner getting that far. 1 out in the 9th. Kershaw, by the way, with a runner at third, has 6 wild pitches. Andres Blanco, a switch hitter, tuning up right-handed, is out on deck. Slow curveball, change in there. Philadelphia without a run tonight. They are 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position. Still 0-2. Well, this is Wednesday night. If he is selected and goes to Cincinnati, Kershaw could pitch an inning next Wednesday. 0-2. Fastball got him looking. 12 strikeouts for Clayton. He now has 159 strikeouts for the year. And standing in this way of extending the scoreless streak, Andres Blanco coming up. So near and yet so far. Blanco appeared as a pinch hitter and struck out in the first game. Loses his bat, fouls it, and the count 0-1. By the way, it's a small note and yet an interesting one. 12 strikeouts, 6 of them looking, and that ties a career high for looking strikeouts, half a dozen. Andres Blanco from Venezuela. He's 31 years old and was originally signed by the Kansas City Royals. And a strike. So Kershaw now is one strike away from a shutout and extending his streak to 27 scoreless innings against Philadelphia. Ground foul. Blanco going down to get a piece of it. Blanco made his major league debut 6 days after his 20th birthday. At the time, the youngest player. And there's Ellen along with baby Polly. Curveball got him looking. 13 strikeouts for Clayton Kershaw. And the third strike makes it 7 caught looking. 27 scoreless innings against the Phillies. That's why we were saying once it got to be 5-0 back in the third inning, you got to figure Kershaw had a heck of a good chance against the last place Phils. By the way, it wasn't that easy. He had to make 123 pitches. So the Dodgers win, the Giants lost. The Dodgers now lead by 5, and naturally, the player of the game would be Clayton Kershaw. It would be really an upset for anybody else. So Clayton is now 6-6, and really pitching yet another gem. Looked like the Phillies were overmatched tonight. 5 runs, 9 hits, no errors. So now it's Zach Greinke tomorrow night. And we will look forward to having you out here if possible. And for all of us, to all of you, a very pleasant good evening, everybody.